Finally, I can boast of the most precise findings about the main fact of how this great attachment to you on the part of Pavlishchev, through whose efforts you entered high school and studied under special supervision, in the end gradually produced among Pavlishchev's relations and household the notion that you were his son and that your father was merely a deceived husband. But the main thing is that this notion hardened into a precise and general conviction only in the last years of Pavlishchev's life, when everyone had fears about the will and all the original facts were forgotten and inquiries were impossible. Undoubtedly this notion reached you, Mr. Burdovsky, and took complete possession of you. Your mother, whose acquaintance I had the honor of making personally, knew all about these rumors, but does not know to this day, I, too, concealed it from her, that you, her son, were also under the spell of this rumor. I found your much-esteemed mother in Pskov, Mr. Burdovsky, beset by illnesses and in the most extreme poverty, which she fell into after Pavlishchev's death. She told me with tears of gratitude that she was alive in the world only through you and your support. She expects much from you in the future and fervently believes in your future success. This is finally unbearable. Lebedev's nephew suddenly declared loudly and impatiently. Why this whole novel? Disgustingly indecent. Hippolyte stirred violently. But Burdovsky noticed nothing and did not even budge. Why? How so? Gavrila Ardalionovich said in sly astonishment, venomously preparing to set forth his conclusion. First, Mr. Burdovsky can now be fully certain that Mr. Pavlishchev loved him out of magnanimity and not as a son. It was necessary that Mr. Burdovsky learn at least this one fact, since he confirmed and approved of Mr. Keller after the reading of the article. I say this, Mr. Burdovsky, because I consider you a noble man. Second, it turns out that there was no thievery or crookedness here even on Chebarov's part. This is an important point even for me, because just now the prince, being overexcited, mentioned that I was supposedly of the same opinion about the thievery and crookedness in this unfortunate affair. Here, on the contrary, there was full conviction on all sides, and though Chebarov may be a great crook, in this affair he comes out as no more than a pettifogger, a scrivener, a speculator. He hoped to make big money as a lawyer, and his calculation was not only subtle and masterful, but also most certain. He based it on the ease with which the prince gives money away and on his gratefully respectful feeling for the late Pavlichev. He based it, finally, which is most important, on certain chivalrous views the prince holds concerning the duties of honor and conscience. As far as Mr. Burdovsky himself is concerned, it may even be said that, owing to certain convictions of his, he was so set up by Chebarov and the company around him that he started the affair almost not out of self-interest at all, but almost in the service of truth, progress, and mankind. Now that these facts have been made known, it must be clear to everyone that Mr. Burdovsky is a pure man, despite all appearances, and now the prince can, the sooner and all the more willingly than before, offer him both his friendly assistance and the active help which he mentioned earlier, speaking about schools and Pavlichev. Stop, Gavrila Ardalionovich, stop! The prince cried in genuine alarm, but it was too late. I've already said 3 times, Burdovsky cried irritably, that I don't want any money. I won't accept, what for I don't want, away. And he nearly rushed off the terrace. But Lebedev's nephew seized him by the arm and whispered something to him. The man quickly came back and, taking a large unsealed envelope from his pocket, threw it down on a little table near the prince. Here's the money. You shouldn't have dared, you shouldn't have. Money? The 250 rubles that you dared to send him as charity through Chebarov, Doktorenko explained. The article said 50. Cried Kolya. I'm to blame, said the prince, going up to Burdovsky. I'm very much to blame before you, Burdovsky, but, believe me, I didn't send it as charity. I'm to blame now, I was to blame earlier. The prince was very upset. He looked tired and weak, and his words were incoherent. I said that about crookedness, but it wasn't about you. I was mistaken. I said that you are like me, a sick man. But you're not like me, you give lessons, you support your mother. I said you had disgraced your mother, but you love her, she says so herself. I didn't know. Gavrila Ardalionovich didn't finish telling me, I'm to blame. I dared to offer you 10,000, but I'm to blame. I ought to have done it differently, and now it's impossible, because you despise me. This is a madhouse. Lizaveta Prokofyevna cried out. Of course, a house full of madmen. Aglaya lost patience and spoke sharply, but her words were drowned in the general noise. Everyone was talking loudly, everyone was arguing, some disputing, some laughing. Ivan Fyodorovich Epanchin was in the utmost degree of indignation, and, with an air of offended dignity, was waiting for Lizaveta Prokofyevna. Lebedev's nephew put in a last little word. Yes, Prince, you must be given credit. You're so good at exploiting your, sickness, to put it decently. You managed to offer your friendship and money in such a clever form that it is now quite impossible for a noble man to accept them. It's either all too innocent, or all too clever. You, however, know which. If you please, gentlemen, cried Gavrila Ardalionovich, who had meanwhile opened the envelope with the money, there are not 250 rubles here, but only 100. I say it, Prince, so that there will be no misunderstandings. Let it be, the prince waved his arms at Gavrila Ardalionovich. No, don't let it be. Lebedev's nephew immediately latched onto it. Your let it be is insulting to us, Prince. We're not hiding, we declare openly, yes, there's only 100 rubles here, and not the whole 250, but isn't it all the same? And no, it's not all the same, Gavrila Ardalionovich managed to put in, with a look of naive perplexity. Don't interrupt me, we're not such fools as you think, Mr. Lawyer, Lebedev's nephew exclaimed with spiteful vexation. Of course, 100 rubles aren't 250, and it's not all the same. But what's important is the principle, it's the initiative that's important, and the fact of the missing 150 rubles is merely a detail. What's important is that Burdovsky does not accept charity from you, Your Highness, that he throws it in your face, and in this sense 100 is the same as 250. Burdovsky did not accept the 10,000, you saw that. He wouldn't have brought the 100 rubles if he were dishonest. Those 150 rubles were Chebarov's expenses for traveling to see the prince. Sooner laugh at our clumsiness and our inexperience in handling the affair. You've already done all you could to make us look ridiculous, but do not dare to say we're dishonest. All of us together will pay the prince back these 150 rubles, my dear sir. We will pay it back even if it's ruble by ruble, and we will pay it back with interest. Burdovsky is poor, Burdovsky has no millions, and Chebarov presented the bill after his trip. We hope to win. Who would have acted differently in his place? What do you mean who? Exclaimed Princess Hch. I'll go out of my mind here, cried Lizaveta Prokofyevna.